Hello, Softwave You. This morning, I have the pleasure of getting to chat with Dr. Jared Gruel. And Dr. Jared, tell us a little bit about you've been a chiropractor how long now?
For 18 years.
Okay, almost 2 decades. You're based in Boulder, Colorado.
Yes, right. Yep.
And we met a few months back. I think you came through our website and just wanted to have more information. And you were looking between a couple devices, and you were like 100% you're going to put some type of shockwave in your company or in your clinic for your community. And why was the reason you were looking? You had bought an existing clinic from an older doctor. So tell me about the existing
Correct.
clientele.
Yeah, I had bought a clinic. A lot of my patients, the doc that I bought the clinic from was 24 years older than me. So he was just getting ready to retire. A lot of his patients had been with him for 30 years. So I had a patient base that was getting into their, 60s, 70s, and 80s. And just a typically active community here in Colorado. And I, do a lot of blend of chiropractic, soft tissue work, dry needling, and had just used up all of my tools that I had on a lot of these patients, and they maybe had one lingering thing that I just couldn't help them with, or they were, one particular degenerated joint was just getting to the point where I was just chronically in pain, and they were doing their best to avoid surgery. And I just wanted some other tool to be able to help them, and nothing else that I looked at over the years, cold laser, ultrasound, anything like that really fit the bill. I just didn't hear enough good stuff about any of those things to justify the cost. But yeah, I'd actually looked into Softwave 2 years prior. So this had been like a long time of seeing information. And I had just over those years gathered enough evidence and data and seeing results from the machine and the devices. I was like, ooh, I think this is going to be the thing that could make a big difference for these patients. Yeah.
Yeah, because you didn't want to refer out, right? You didn't like,
Exactly.
what are they going to get? They're going to get, narcotics, they're going to get cortisone, they're going to have joint replacements.
Exactly.
So you kind of what made you decide to go with Softwave?
Was probably your charming personality. um, no, in all seriousness, I mean, there's there was a lot of what I saw as similarities, but between the devices that I was looking at, as far as outcomes that they had, but a lot of it actually had to do with the ease of use. I felt like once I really dialed in Softwave with the unfocused or broadly focused treatment area, would be able to use it on more places, on more anatomical regions in an easier fashion. I might be able to train staff to use it easier. And in the bigger picture, I'm always, if I have a tool, I want it to be used for as many different things as possible. And that's how Softwave kind of stood out from what you had talked to me about, videos I had seen from past doctors who'd been using it for a long time.
We're,
So
we're in Harvard, Mayo Clinic, Cleveland Clinic, Yale, 30 professional sporting teams. I can't even keep our logos updated. Denver Broncos since July, so
yeah,
yeah,
yeah, that all helped for sure. Just like hearing about the medical institutions that were using it for lots of different conditions, not just musculoskeletal stuff, but then it's so useful acute injuries, whether it's a fresh injury to help it heal faster, or using it with somebody who's had this surgical pain for 30 years. The ability to use a particular device on multiple different kinds of people, multiple different types of injuries, was the big thing. And I honestly did love everything that you had said with me, the culture, the
Softwave
philosophy
University.
here behind the Softwave business. Like there was an appeal there that I don't know, I can't really describe, but there was just a good vibe and a good crew behind the device itself.
Well, that's awesome. And, once you decided on Softwave, you were all in and you were like a skeptic. You asked me the tough questions. You definitely are, a fact finder that looks for, digs down deep. So I'm happy that you came on board. And I mean, how was the launch? How was the training? Because with the other device company, you actually had to fly to Fargo or Pittsburgh, PA, right? It's a Turkish device that's been used. Um, what happened with your experience with us?
Oh, it was very simple. I got my device in like I think a week or less.
Mhm.
It was ready to go. The trainer reached out to me. There was another doc in the area that's been using it for 3 years, so that was awesome because he
Dr. Mike
has,
Lynch, shout
yeah,
out.
he has tons of clinical experience and was able to give me a lot of tips and tricks right off the bat. Getting started. He just showed up, told me what we were going to do, got the machine set up. He taught me how to prep for it, so I already had a list of, he said, I forgot that he had said pick 5 to 10 people, and I ended up having like 15 to 20
I told
right
you,
off the
I
bat.
told you 12 to 14, 10 to 14.
Okay. Okay, that's where I
And
got that number. But it
yeah,
worked out great because he like maxed out, did all the treatments while I was watching, taking notes. We were kind of talking about it, and then he's been awesome ever since. Like I can text him and about any questions that I've had, and he's been so helpful. So
of the
it went great, and then
of the
yeah,
of
pretty much.
the of the 17, 18 people that came, you said something on our phone call yesterday. How many of them signed up?
Well, every single one except for one lady.
Who
And
you who you said eventually will, but she started a new business.
yes, yeah, she had some financial stuff going on, and she's like, I definitely want to just let me get my ducks in order. But she had a great result, and I've been seeing her for years. A chronic upper back pain thing, and that actually worked for her, of course. So she'll be
So
back.
almost 100%. Would you say 100% success rate on that initial day with those first 14 to 17? How many people do you remember
A
roughly?
100%. Yeah, there was. I think there was 17 or 18 people that were there that day.
So 17 people sign up. There's a wow factor to it, right? It's just like this near immediate relief. And that's what I love about the predictable patient outcomes, because I don't care where you're at, and in Atlanta, Georgia, Santa Cruz, California, or Colorado, you Boulder, Colorado. By the way, Mike Lynch lives 3 miles from you, right?
He actually moved, so he lives way down south of
But his
Denver.
clinic, his
Yeah,
clinic
the clinic is,
is three.
yeah,
There's no
10 minutes away.
poverty mentality. There's no scarcity with our docs. They're like, listen, you've got your own tribe. You're going to, for the first 4 to 6 months, internally market to these people and do really well. So how long have you had it? Where are we at? What's the story?
Well, we've only, I mean, this I think is maybe the fourth week that I've had it. Um, yeah, from the get go, Mike was like, he was just stoked that I had it. He's like, there's no competition. There's no shortage of people that need this. I'm super excited. I've been waiting and waiting and waiting for some other doc in the Boulder area to get one. He's like, I'm the only one. And it's been great. It's transformed my practice. I mean, immediately started seeing most of those patients who signed up for care twice a week. I do a little bit longer appointments in general because I do a lot of nutrition in my office too. So it's taken over a good 50% of time slots on my schedule, but it's also just then people are coming in for their adjustments and nutrition visits, and they're hearing this tap 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 from the other room. They're like, now what's that? I want to check that out. And it's just continuing to grow, and I'm like trying to get my staff to work on internal marketing, and we'll be doing more of that where we're actually reaching out to people, because you send out emails and think everybody's heard about it, and nobody reads the emails, and so everybody that's still coming in for the regular visits, we're getting to chat with them and stuff. I just had a guy yesterday comes in, it was like, oh, I hadn't been in for a while, over a year for an adjustment. He's like, my neck's all jacked up. Well, it's actually from the shoulder. I ripped my rotator cuff on the ski slopes a month ago. I was like, oh, well, you'd be a good candidate for my new
Easy.
supersonic magical healing device. He's like, what's that? I told him all about it. He's like, oh, I got to get signed up. Do you think that would work for my wife and her knee? I'm like, only one way to find out. better get her signed
It's
up.
a
So
magnet.
it's just this natural organic thing where in the past I would have been like, oh man, sucks that I'm sorry you tore your shoulder. Like, good luck with PT and hope you don't need surgery. And now I'm just like, oh my God, I've got something for you. So it's
I
it
love the
just
patient
keeps kind of
story.
snowballing and organically growing like that. It's really
Love the
fun.
patient stories. Yesterday you mentioned about a young lady, close to your age, like she's in her mid 40s, and 15 years ago she was in a bad car accident. Without giving up too much information, can you tell the story of what it's been like for her?
Yeah, I'm just gonna I'm looking at her chart note because I know I wrote down the specifics. Anyway, I can't actually remember what injury it was, but she had an ankle injury. Did have to have surgery, and she's had a cane that she's had to walk with. She's been in chronic pain all day, every day, chronic pain in her ankle, and then her knee on the other side of the body as a compensation. And she had to have some surgery, and she's got some hardware in her knee as well. Um, I just had been adjusting her. She's a longtime patient. I've known her for 4 years since I've owned this practice. And I talked to her. I was like, oh, you know what? You should. I hadn't seen her often enough to even bring her in on that first initial day because there's so many patients you don't think about. You have a list right off the bat. And she comes in. I was like, you know what? I think we might be able to make a difference for you in this ankle. Why don't you get signed up
15-year
for an initial?
injury. 5, 10, 15 years she's been walking with a cane, having these left knee, right.
Yes, yeah. Thir 13 plus, I think she might have said 15, but it's at minimum of 13 years she's been in chronic pain, walking with a cane. And she got in there, we did her intro session. She felt something go on during the visit. She was pretty excited. She went home. She came back for her second visit. She's like, I burst into tears the night of that first visit and I called my mom. I'm like, Mom, I can actually put weight on my ankle with no pain for the first time in 13 years. I could just start crying again. I was doing that yesterday talking to you. The What this does for people is just mind blowing. You said the magical supersonic healing when I bought my machine. You're like, let the magical supersonic healing
I said,
begin.
let the supernatural healing begin. Because it's
And I was like, haha, good one. That's a good little marketing tagline. It's for real. I'm seeing it every day and every week with all kinds of people in all parts of their bodies with
yeah, no, it's
injuries that are decades old. And she came in for her second visit and came back, and she was even happier as she came back on the third visit. She came to the
wait,
office without her cane. She
without
came
her
walking
cane.
into the office without her cane for the first time. She's never done that in 13 years. And she's like, oh my God, like, if I don't need all these sessions on my ankle, can I use it for my back and my shoulder? Because now I'm like, people have these issues that have been so plaguing them for so long. Once it gets better, they're like, oh, by the way, I've got 2, 3, 4 other things I need some help with. Oh, and by the way, you
Absolutely.
better get ready because I'm handing out your business cards left and right. My mom's coming in. I got some other
Yeah, I mean,
friends.
there's no amount of money they can pay you to thank you and so grateful. So what they do is they refer at this, they tell everybody and anybody if they have known her for 10 years and she walks in without a cane, they're like, what the hell you been doing? You
Yeah.
know, here's the thing.
And she was dead to the medical system. She's already done drugs. She's already done surgery. So she's already done all the injections.
Doctor
Like,
after doctor after
it was
doctor.
a downhill road for her. And now she's like, oh my God, I like, you can see in her eye, like, I've got the rest of my life now.
Yeah,
Like,
this
what
doesn't
is
have
there
to
to look
console
forward
me.
to?
This doesn't. So just so you know, supernatural healing. This is the definition, supernatural. Because I was called in a court over this and they approved it. So listen to it. Supernatural of a manifestation or event attributed to some force beyond scientific understanding or the laws of nature. So what you experienced with her was that healing, the definition, which is a noun, the process of making or becoming sound or healthy again. right? So I call it super healing, device, which is a thing, mode, or adapted for a particular purpose, especially a piece of mechanical or electronic equipment. So you see why I'm saying, like, has this lived up to the hype? Because I I I sold a pretty big bill of goods to you, right? Has it lived up to the hype?
I mean, yeah, absolutely. I have no regrets. I feel like I'm in the midst of doing some other growth and offering different programs in the office. So I almost it's just like the little bit that I've seen in the first 3 weeks, I can tell is just like just the beginning of the impact that I can have.
It's the ROII. It's the return on impact in your community first, and then it's the return on investment. And some people are like, how much money can I make with this? No. How many more people can you help? Right. And tell the story about the your family friend who's a medical doctor. How many
Oh
years?
yeah. Yeah, he's hilarious.
You've had
Very
like
so yeah, he's a longtime family friend. He's a 81-year-old retired medical doctor.
skeptic,
And
skeptic.
yeah, he's skeptic, but we're, best friends with his daughter and her husband. And so we've gotten to know them over the years. And so he came in to me a couple of years ago for some plantar fasciitis, helped him out with some dry needling, blah blah. And next thing I know, like we are going out to Easter brunch last year, and he's hobbling around uh, the parking lot to go get the car to pick up his wife. I'm like, what's up with him? Why is he walking like that? Oh, he won't tell you, but he's in excruciating pain. His toes are so arthritic and so painful. So I talked to him, and he's just like, yeah, there's nothing you can do. Sorry. I mean, you've helped me out before. There's nothing you can do about this, though. And I had sent him. He got one of our reminder texts from the office, just like, hey, haven't seen you in a while. Thinking about you. Wanted to check in. And he's like, well, do you have any magical cure for old toes? And I had just gotten my device. I just bought it and it hadn't arrived yet. I'm like, you wouldn't believe this, but I actually think that I do. And so I said, let's get you set up for an intro session. I want to see if we can help you out. And he's like, what is this? And I gave him a little bit of information, sent him an article or two. He's like, fine, I'll come try it out. He's like, I don't think you can do anything. It's just arthritis. These are old toes, Jared. And I'm like, just come in and let me work on them. So we did that one visit, and he gets done. He's like, well, we'll see. We'll see. And he sent me a text that night. He's like, you know what? I think it might have done something. These feel, my left foot feels better than it has in a while. I'm like, let's do another one and see how much better we can get him. So he comes in a week later, and I I did the whole treatment. And he's got these toes that are all 81 years old, and they've got some arthritis, and they're all kind of crooked and cramped. And he's sitting there, and his eyes are just like bugs out, and he's wiggling all of his toes. He's like, Jared, I couldn't do this without excruciating pain just an hour ago. I'm like, Mike, I'm telling you, we're gonna get these toes feeling much better for you.
Oh,
And
I
he
love
texted me that night. He's like, success, doc. It's a 1 out of 10 for the first time in over a year. This is the best I've felt. And that's only after 2 visits. So now
it.
his
Yeah,
son's coming in, and he'll probably send his 80-year-old wife in as well.
I mean, it's a magnet for new patient referrals, and new patients are the lifeline for any clinic. Let me just say, there's a quote I love. It says, a sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic. That's from Arthur Clarke. You think about that. Like any new, if you look back 100 years ago, right? And they saw what we were doing now, video, voice conferencing, and I mean Star Trek, it's scientific. Um, but this is technology is solving problems. And Softwave as a technology is solving problems in our healthcare, right? We have too many people overdosing on, opioids. We have too many. Cortisone is considered barbaric in the rest of the world, but it's a standard of care. Joint replacements is a multi-billion-dollar industry, and it happens to younger and younger patients. I mean, Dr. Jeff May out of Minnesota, he's got a new shirt. He's got a club, and it's hey, I canceled my surgery. And then it's Softwave and his info on the back. And he's got like, 12 people after 2.5 years. So maybe it's something we should start like a national campaign. I love it. And I love what you've done, investing in this world-class technology into your community. And two guys in Boulder, wow, there's over 60 devices now in Atlanta. And it starts with Dr. John Warlick, our founder's vision. How about financially? What have you noticed in the last 3 to 4?
Well, it's been amazing. I mean, the Mike helped me talk through just kind of what he's been charging over the last few years, and he does training in that area, so we're all kind of on the same page. And I talked to another, actually, an acupuncture friend of mine who's getting Softwave in Minnesota, and so I feel really good about the value of what we charge for visits and for treatment packages. It's made a huge difference office wise because it's a 5 to 7, sometimes a 10-minute treatment where I'm in there talking to them, doing the treatment, kind of talking afterwards. And I'm used to 10 to 20 to 30-minute appointments that I charge half or a third of the cost. So I'm literally doubling and tripling the office income for a 10-minute appointment.
Time is the new currency. Time, right?
It's all about the value. And patients ask, once in a while, they'll just be like, "Do patients balk at the price of this?" I'm like, "No." I'm like, "What? Like, how can you put a price tag on being able to walk after you've had a cane for 13 years?"
Yeah.
And it's like, "Oh,
that's perfect.
You're gonna."
What do you know what you collected in the first 3 weeks?
From Softwave alone, no, but because we were introducing some other programs and that was all included, so I had to go back. But I do know we had this has been a record month. I've been in practice 18 years. This month that we implemented Softwave has been a record revenue and profit for the office.
20,000?
And I'm not really working that hard. It's just implementing new stuff and helping a bigger number of patients with a bigger variety of problems. So yeah,
refer out less. Take care. Not only does it get your patients well, but it makes you financially stable. Less is more. That's the protocol you're utilizing that I created several years ago in my own clinic. This is a way to microdose this intelligent energy into the human body in a way that is respectful and watching the body's innate ability to heal. And it's really stimulating that whole cycle. That's what I love. There's no external biological fluids that you're injecting for $5,000. It's stimulating the body's own natural healing ability. And that's what it is. And really the bottom line, and this is the billion-dollar part that you have to understand when you're educating your patients, is we are literally downregulating inflammation, which is the main culprit of pain. So the pain goes down. Once you flush that inflammation out into the lymphatic system, the body is now able to increase his range of motion, less pain, better circulation, stimulating stem cells within minutes of treatment. And then there's this homeostasis that the body over the first, 3 or 4 weeks that we're teaching how to modulate that inflammatory factor. So that's what's happening. And remember, like mechanotransduction, like I'm not just teaching you how to speak to your patients, I'm teaching you how to speak to the world about this amazing device. And that's kind of why I'm grateful you're on this call today. So I like how he ducked how much money or what's the increase that this has been, 22 days into the month of April. But I'm going to give you homework to go back and look, because it's important to know we have a 90-day challenge. And if you're able to generate what you paid for that device, you get $1,000 in Softwave bucks, to put towards your next applicator, which, an applicator makes anywhere from $70,000 to $105,000, in total, depending on what you're using and working on. So you get 2 applicators and 1 refurbishment. that should generate $315,000 before you ever have to pay for an applicator. Understand that. So that's important to know. Track the data. And the last thing I'm going to say is you have such an amazing patient database from purchasing that wonderful chiropractor's practice. Plus, you have the new life and people that you know. So you're going to pay this off in less than 110 days. But you're also the internal marketing is what it just generates in it, and then it's going to kind of push everything else, right? It leads to all more roads. Well, thank you so much. The last thing I'd have to say is, as soon as you put down the probe, you should be picking up your phone to start documenting and videotaping this, right? I yelled it yesterday. So I'm just very grateful, Dr. Jared, that you believed in me and invested in this technology, and you chose not to go a different route, which I'm grateful for, because you'd have dirt and grime from changing the little bulbs uh, that device. But anything in closing, Doc, that you'd like to share with that? You sat on the sidelines for 2 years. You're not a pioneer. You're somewhat of an early to middle adopter. So what do you say to that doctor that's been sitting on the fence for a year, watching our videos, seeing our patients, being at our webinars? What's that tip you leave with them?
I would say if you've got any patients that you've been working on and they've got some issue and you're just like, man, I wish I wish I could help them with this. It doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't matter if it's bone on bone arthritis, if it's been there for 3 decades, or if it's an acute injury and you're like, ooh, I really don't want to have to send you out and leave you to the wolves of what you're going to find out there. I would say do whatever it takes to pick up one of these devices. It has not let me down in one case of all the people and all the patients I had where I was like, God, I wish I had something to help this person over the last few years. And then when I got the machine, I'm like, okay, I'm going to do it. I'm going to pull the plug. And I was just like, in my head, I still have these doubts. I'm like, God, I hope this works on so-and-so. God, I hope this can help. What's her face? I know my patients' names. That was just an example. And every single person, it's helped. I could sit here and tell you about every single one of these examples. Chronic shoulder pain. I'd just gotten done seeing her like 20 visits, dry needling, soft tissue, chiropractic. I'm like, I can handle this. I've seen 100 of these cases. Nothing was changing. Nothing was changing. I get the Softwave, 1 visit, boom, her shoulder's 50% better. 2 or 3 visits, it's gone. For the first time in over 2 years, she's doing active yoga, hot, like always irritated, always inflamed. I don't know what I would have done. I might have to give her money back because nothing I did was working. I swear to God, every person I was like, please let this work for this person. It's worked. So that's what I would tell anybody on the sideline.
So I got, that's a great story, because like we got into this profession to help people. And, no matter what, there's no 100% certainty or effectiveness. And, I did neuropathy. I've done neuropathy since 2008, 2009. And, 10% of the people are too far gone. 10% don't get the results. So, that's why I brought this into my Atlantic neuropathy clinic back in 2017, because not everybody was getting better. There was a nice 75 to 80%, but I was like, I told you this, I was like the Mother Teresa of neuropathy. Is like, if they didn't get double-digit improvements in their post-testing in their sensory nerves, I would buy back their boots. Okay. And in 2016, I think I bought back I spent $20,000 line item buying these back, which was about probably 11 or 12, maybe 13 devices per year. Mm-hmm. And sometimes a patient would die, and I'd buy it back from the family member. But I started using this on September 11, 2017 on my first patient. Her name was Carol, and she had gone 3 months, 23 visits, had 5% improvement and 9% improvement on her feet. She had not hit double digits. And I was like, "Yeah, I'll buy the boot." I said, "You know what? Would you let me put this device on your feet and let's see what's happening. Help my wrist." And she goes, "Sure." So I did it. I did it 3 times, once a week for the next 3 weeks. We retested her. She was like 18 and 21% improvement.
Nice.
And she didn't want to give her boots back. She didn't want me to buy them back. And I was like, I got to start using this on all my neuropathy patients. I knock on wood, I do not have to buy those polychromatic boots back anymore because it's like, love it. So I
Nice.
think you'll see similar things. As a functional medicine doctor, I want you to start thinking about the gut and the intestines. We just saw some really cool cases when I was in North Carolina working with a woman with ulcerative colitis, and
Mhm.
she basically had 2 bowel movements a month. And we started her on this regimen, and it's just like magic, right? And she just couldn't believe it. So I love it. Thank you so much for sharing your success. And really, I love catching up. And I would love to, in the next 3 to 4 months, see where you're at and the amount of stories. And then we'll have some videos to share.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Dr. Jared.
You bet. Take care.